Let's talk about money and new forms of money and value. So what I'm doing in Finland is I'm writing a dissertation on NFTs, and I'm here to tell you, like, now you had really great, amazing teachers who would explain the good side of gaming to you, and now I'm going to explain you the dark side, but you need to know about it because that's where the money are right now. So NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and my dissertation is about the value of non-fungible tokens in the game Cryptokitties, but generally I know how other games work as well, and I will tell you now. And probably, unless you've been living under the rock, you have probably heard about NFTs this year and how crazy the prices are. And if you've been living under a pet rock, probably you don't remember, but that was a thing. That was a toy, a pet rock. Then, of course, you have heard about NFTs in games because if you look at most blockchain-based games, and then you look at those things, novelty toys, such as a pet rock that does absolutely nothing. You pay money, you buy a rock, and it does nothing. So this is basically the mechanics of most NFT-based games right now, unfortunately. But we see this area developing, we see this industry developing, and now we sometimes we see more mechanics than actually collecting rare items that may not have any value outside of this community of collectors. So yes, we need to know more about the value of NFTs. And so NFTs are non-fungible tokens on blockchain. Those are basically virtual goods. Look at them as you look at the virtual goods in games. Look at them as purchases. For the sake of our talk today, there are many other dimensions to them, especially when we speak about art on blockchain, but we are not speaking about art. We're only speaking about games. So crypto games appeared in late 2017. And firstly, they were more proofs of concept than games. The goal of their creators was to prove that you can build a game on blockchain. And the first successful example was Cryptokitties. There were other games that came a little bit earlier where you could, but they were mostly games of chance, more like gambling games that involved Bitcoin, that involved other smaller cryptocurrencies, and they were basically gambling games. So Cryptokitties is probably the first game that also had some mechanics beyond gambling. It is still a gambling game, a game of luck, a game of chance, but it still has some elements that were borrowed from pet simulators and pet breeding simulators. So you have kitties, you can breed them, you get more kitties, you can sell them for money, and so on. After this first game turned out really successful, many crypto-based games went into production in 2018, and this is where I started writing my dissertation, or at least started working on my research for my future dissertation. But then the market crashed, as it always does in crypto, and we had what is called a crypto winter. So many credible game design project ran out of money, ran out of investments, or for instance, they had their funds in cryptocurrencies and they suddenly decimated in value and they were done. So unfortunately, this killed a lot of actually playable and interesting game projects, but now we have the revival, and the revival came after NFTs became a popular vehicle for speculation on the art market. However, to me, it seems that crypto games have never recovered from this blow. And now all investors' money go into collectible NFTs. But maybe you will be invited to some gaming project, to some project that implements NFTs. Maybe a major studio will invite you to work on NFTs for them. So this is what you need to know. So Cryptokitties, it's a browser game. All you need is a browser and a cryptocurrency wallet extension that you install in your browser, and then you can spend cryptocurrency Ether and buy these kitties, trade these kitties, and sell them. Please don't do it now, because now the game has become prohibitively expensive and very, very slow. So you won't really get any pleasure from it unless you're very rich, have a gambling addiction problem, and you have been in the scene for at least 2 or 3 years, because this is the typical picture of the person who can play Cryptokitties as of year 2022 and not lose enormous money. So players breed these kitties, but typically you don't really get something that you can sell. Typically you lose this gamble and you get some kitty that you cannot sell. But the game also has its own peer-to-peer marketplace where you can try to sell those kitties for cryptocurrency Ether. The game publishers also have their own blockchain, and they're kind of trying to migrate the game from one blockchain to another, which is always a bad idea. So this is the state of the game now. However, it has taught us really a lot about how these markets work in games, how these markets of new virtual goods now on blockchain work. If you use cryptocurrencies, which you can exchange for real world money. So, and of course, the first motivation for many people was, can you get rich by doing it? And yes, you can. You can get rich by doing it, but the deeper into the game, the more it becomes like professional trading. So this is external analytics that you need to play this game. There are all kinds of scams, all kinds of all kinds of very complicated arrangements between traders and trade washing, and of course algorithmic trading. Of course, players build bots. If players can build bots, like if there is a financial incentive, of course players will build bots to get this free money. So most of the game is still played by bots, but yeah, and most of the revenue most of the profits comes to those players who are good at building bots. So, and this is also what we see when we research this game as quantitative researchers, for example. There are a few papers, I will share them later. And however, there are quite a lot of people who still enjoy this game, because this kind of speculation, it is kind of a game by itself, a game in itself, a game in money, a game with money. And also, when you look at the history of multiplayer online games, this is not particularly new. There was the gray market of CSGO skins a while ago, for example, but these did not last for long because Steam and Valve implemented some ways to make speculation for profit less viable. So yeah, and there were of course attempts to put CSGO skins on blockchain, of course, and that was also a thing for a while, but it did not last for long again, because when you use blockchain-based assets in a real game, it skews, like it destroys your balance, it destroys the balance of your economy immediately. Because it is a decentralized economy, it is peer-to-peer economy. Players sell stuff to other players, and the market goes beyond the control of the game publisher or a game developer. And of course, this causes lots of exploitation on the market and manipulation. However, after NFTs became a thing in 2021, 22, less so in 22, big game companies finally started treating this NFT craze seriously. They started seeing value in it. So what kind of value do they see? This is the iconic example. Square Enix embraces NFTs. They will probably build their own metaverse. They probably hope to make money. And the reason, at least that this is what the critics say, is that in this metaverse that they're supposedly building, they can earn money by doing nothing. So it will be they will hold their intellectual property, they will hold all those iconic game characters and iconic game brands, and they will just leave it to players to buy and sell stuff on their platform, and they will take a share of the transactions, and they will get rich while everybody else will be just trying to survive in this new metaverse. So I think this is their plan. It is probably a viable business plan, but it is also not exactly ethical towards players. So if you are participating in an NFT project, it might be something like that. Value for the company, not much value for the players. And value for the players is something that players should create themselves. So what kind of value is there? First, NFTs were traded for cryptocurrencies. Cryptokitties were first traded for Ether, but it is changing. Now they like have different currencies inside the game. Now other blockchain-based games are kind of moving beyond blockchain. However, the first idea of value in blockchain games came from the value of cryptocurrencies, which is a much disputed topic by itself. You can explain the value of Bitcoin through the metaphor of gold, because it is immutable, it is cryptographically protected, it is undestructible, just like gold. But this is the semiotic approach. This is how you assign meaning to things. Bitcoin is not like gold in any other sense rather than in this semiotic sense. You can look at that pragmatically. Bitcoin costs just as much as you pay to mine it, and all the rest comes from exchange value, which is also fueled by speculation. This is also this is the very reasonable approach that has no relevance to gaming so far. Then, of course, we have this religious approach of blockchain believers that Nakamoto is God, code is law, everything that is on blockchain is sacred. You might believe this, and I don't blame you, but if you believe this, you also need to deal with the empirical reality of that not all people will believe the same. And finally, when you look at pitches of blockchain businesses, blockchain startups, they all speak about utility value. They all mention utility value. So these cryptocurrencies, these minor altcoins, these tokens, they need some utility. They need to be used in just any other way rather than trading them on exchanges. All cryptocurrencies, all blockchain projects speak about that, which means that they still need this utility value, and this utility value for a very brief period was found exactly in games. And this is where I started my research. I started looking into this Cryptokitties game. I started looking at different ways by which this value is constructed in games. So if cryptocurrencies are used in a game, this gives the cryptocurrency the utility. It gives it use value. You can use Ether by buying Cryptokitties and playing with them, for instance. But is there any value that is created inside the game? Is there any value that is created for players? In my own research, which is just a very small part of research, I haven't found any other procedures of value creation beyond speculation. Although I could observe that some people would actually make money, and not just by speculation. Those were the people who would make a lot of friends, participate in the community, and they would eventually be hired somewhere, or probably they would get into some better project and into some better game, or they would like create unique designs and sell them beyond all this Cryptokitties market. So they would still create some kind of social credits for them by participating in the life of community, and they would probably profit from being a part of this crypto community in some other ways, not just by speculation. So there is this playful dimension. There are those players who get somewhere, who actually find better opportunities in this area. And again, if you are being offered the just like if you will get an offer that you can't resist from some crypto blockchain project, maybe it's not a bad thing to take it as long as you are ethically compliant to yourself. So what kinds of value are there? When we speak about cryptocurrencies, this is the exchange value that is the most important one. Of course, they all want utility value, but sometimes there is no utility value. So then there is the exchange value, easily manipulated by speculation and different forms of manipulation on the market. But this exchange value is only present in cryptocurrencies, like it is present in it is the basis of the price of cryptocurrencies. It is not necessarily present in NFTs. What is the difference? Cryptocurrencies are fungible, they're exchangeable mostly, unless they are like some very shady tokens that some rapper on TikTok pushes to you, then no, they're probably not even fungible. Generally, cryptocurrencies are fungible. That's the basic concept. Tokens in games, NFTs, are non-fungible. You can't exchange them one for another. You can if you are like two collectors. You and your friend. I have rare Cryptokitties. My friend has, I don't know, rare crypto puppies, and I give a kitty for their puppy. But this is completely beyond me and my friend. This is not that much a part of the market, and this is not really happening in real life. So non-fungible tokens need to be exchanged for some form of money, which is cryptocurrency or sometimes real world money. And game publishers, like, they are traded on special marketplaces. Of course, you will hear that they can be traded anywhere. No, this is typically alive. NFTs from one particular blockchain are typically traded within that blockchain. NFTs from one particular game are traded within that game. So game publishers tend to monopolize this market. Cryptokitties had this open market, and then people started doing all kind of manipulations, and then Cryptokitties developer introduced their own blockchain with a different tried to change their marketplace, and it did not go well because now people realize that they cannot cash out that easy. It becomes increasingly more difficult to make real money on digital cats, and they did not really use that second blockchain. This second blockchain is still used in their other projects, such as NBA shots, and everybody reports that it is very difficult to cash out. It is very difficult to control your assets on these private blockchains, and this is how game publishers monopolize this market. Then the second problem is, this was the first problem. The second problem is that secondary market hardly exists. If you Google the news, you will learn that the first tweet, it's not in the games, but it's on Twitter. The first tweet ever was sold for like cosmic amount of money, but now the person who bought the first tweet ever on Twitter as an NFT is trying to resell this Twitter, and nobody wants to buy it. So this is a very extreme example, but generally, especially in games, a secondary market hardly exists, because it has not, like, there is not much use for these tokens. They lose their value after they have been on the market for a while, because the market gets saturated, and these tokens don't always retain any value. Same as in games, like games tend to have a bit of inflation, goods become nerfed, like goods become products in games, virtual products in games become less valuable. So this is the same thing. Then, of course, there are still people who made great profits, and of course, those are the people who have the most money and who have spent enough time on the marketplace. This is confirmed by many quantitative studies. If you look who makes money, it is always the wealthy few who have been there for a while. And then, as long as you use cryptocurrencies in your game, as long as you use blockchain, in most cases, players need to buy in to start playing. So, like, to start playing, like, you need probably to spend several hundreds of euros to even start playing a game like Cryptokitties or Axie Infinity, and this does not guarantee that you will be winning or that you will have any kind of meaningful experiences. This is just to buy in to the game, and then you will have to prove that you are a really good speculator or a really good manager in Axie Infinity. Always fun. Initially, the same as in previous types of virtual markets, same as in previous types of virtual worlds, the main idea behind value in crypto games was scarcity. It seems logical. If there are only a few of certain types of goods in the game, then these goods must be scarce, and then these goods are scarce, and then these goods must be valuable. Does it work like this? No, it doesn't, because if you have 1 million Cryptokitties in a game, you can't make all of them scarce. And if they're all more or less similar and used in more or less the same way, they only scarcity Scarcity does not scale up. Blockchains do not really scale up, and scarcity does not scale up. It can it still means something. The rarest kitties are actually more expensive, but the attributes that are considered valuable are not necessarily the attributes that are the rarest. I checked, that's not the case. Scarcity does not make something valuable by itself. You need something else attached to this token. In the case of Cryptokitties, they're mostly it needs to be very really scarce and look really different. And really scarce is less than 0.01% of such tokens on the market. Then yes, then they're scarce. But then to find this token, you would have need to pay a lot of money and to be in the game, to have been in the game for quite a while. So scarcity did not work. In the case of Cryptokitties, there have been several attempts to make it into a real game. So it would have the replay value, or this would be a sub-type of use value. So the use value is when something can be used in some activity to your enjoyment or satisfaction or to fulfill some of your needs. So this is also what is called utility value in blockchain startups in general. And Cryptokitties, one of such, this value can be found, for instance, in replay value, when you can use different Cryptokitties to play different kinds of games. And they try to do it. They honestly tried, but then they the developers and the publishers kind of outsourced this part of the game to the players, and the players were not that invested into it. They were invested when it was the question of money. They were not that much invested when it was the question of fun, because if you have to choose between money and fun, this audience of crypto games, they inevitably choose money, because this is why they are in it. They're here for money, so they choose money at the expense of fun. And if they are asked to build something, they will build trading bots. They maybe will try to build some kind of a better game in their free time, but this is typically not really viable. But we have another example. Cryptokitties were not able to do that really well, but then we had Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity actually is just a little bit younger than Cryptokitties. It is also from the first generation of blockchain-based games from 2018, and they managed to hack this problem for a while, and it was just a hack. It was not some inherently good evolution of blockchain gaming, but they created in this case, players gain cryptocurrencies by playing the game. So it is not like in Cryptokitties, you need to play these chance mechanics, and maybe you will get something that you will be able to sell, but maybe not, most often not. In Axie Infinity, it is more or less like a card game, more or less traditional. rock, paper, scissors type of a game. So you have 3 axes and you play against your opponent and implement different, your axes have different abilities and different statistics, so you can kind of battle against the other player. So this involves at least some element of skill, and they would reward players with yet another cryptocurrency for doing that. And it went well and fun for a while, but then what happened? Of course, players started building like businesses based on that. So now there would be these managers who would buy axes and lend them to other players whom they would call scholars, and they would take a part of the profit from what these scholars would win. So this was the play to win model, and it worked for a while. The game Axie Infinity went viral, especially in the countries where with a good internet infrastructure but poor job market, such as Philippines, I think, and some other countries. So it worked for a while because people started getting into this game for the sake of making money in it. And they started creating those like cooperatives. They started creating these small firms which purpose would be to play Axie Infinity for money. It went for just as long as this was profitable. If you Google any news about Axie Infinity now, you will learn that they're kind of going down because as long as the market stagnated, as soon as you could not really make a living by playing this game, players started leaving because they were in it for the money. They weren't in it for the fun. So this is kind of this is when we see value derived from labor, when play becomes labor, and people are paid to work, which is the same as play. And this kind of, you can see this in games quite a lot, but this used to be called gold farming, and this used to be a bad thing. Now we are like assigning different meaning to the same thing that was around since like the early World of Warcraft, but now it is suddenly a good thing. Suddenly players from low-income countries playing the game for money is a good thing. This is the world we are now living in. But yes, we need to take into account that this is also a form of value which is derived from labor, but it is problematic because it clashes with the main idea of the game, that games are non-instrumental activities. We play games to have fun. When there is no fun, this may not even be considered a game. This is another topic, and you will probably learn about it from someone else. This is a huge other topic of what the game is or what a game is not. There are other ways to use NFTs in games. For instance, if you go to Binance, they have this lovely page of initial game offerings. And when you look at it, you think, oh, wow, there are quite a lot of beautiful blockchain-based games with NFTs that probably people can play. But you need to know, when you see this, you need to know that this is not the actual games. These are like initial coin offerings, but for games. So people buy a small part of people buy some tokens in games, and when enough people buy these tokens, the company will have enough money to create the actual game. Then the game is not there yet. Sometimes the game proposal is not there yet if you look more closely at such initial game offerings. And this was exactly the problem with initial coin offerings. People would just buy tokens, and then the company who would sell these tokens, they would just take the money and run. And this killed all the ICO craze back in 2018, 19, I think. No, earlier. It was 2017. Yes, it was even before the games. good times. So when you look at such projects, remember, yes, this is also a viable idea. It may work. It works in the same way as crowdfunding, but instead of some goodie bag and an early pass to the game, you get this token, which is also a goodie bag and a pass to the game. But you need to take in mind all complications that you have with crowdsourcing games, with crowdfunding games. This is the same. So there is no guarantee that this game will ever be made after the tokens are sold, even if the tokens are all sold out, which actually does not always happen. So there's one last promise that you will hear a lot if you work in the NFT space. You will hear that from Square Enix or whoever, that blockchain allows you to own assets in your game and maybe even to transfer it to other games in the future if it becomes technically possible, if someone pays developers to make it possible, which is kind of more of a promise than of a plan. So do NFTs make, like, are NFTs a property in some special way? If you own an NFT, do you own like something in the game? No, the answer is no, at least not in any special way. You may have the right to like hold some asset in the game, and maybe it will be valuable to you, maybe it will have some use value in the game, but absolutely nobody guarantees that you will own it in any legal sense. Maybe if there is a special legal agreement in the game, then yes, you will own it. But this is the same as in almost every other digital game. Blockchain does not add anything to that. So also, will I be in full control on my assets if they are NFTs? No, you will not be, because if it's a proprietary blockchain, it's a private blockchain, then the game developers can do whatever they want with your assets, and you have no control over anything. It's not how it works. That's what they say, but it's not how it works in reality. So, of course, the biggest promise, are we building a new economy that disrupts social order? I hope so. I hope that it will be the case in some particular instances. I hope so. But as for now, what we mostly see is pyramid schemes. So it's mostly the same as ever, but now it is also on blockchain, which is a very unusable technology in itself. With it fulfills very particular purposes, and fun is not the purpose. In the case of blockchain, fun is not the purpose. The purpose is cryptographically protected information about transfer of digital assets from one account to another. And this does not even work that well in games. It hasn't worked that well in the games that were built specifically around this functionality so far. So maybe in the future you will build a new economy that disrupts our current social and economic order and bring in the new mode of production, but it's not here yet. And as for now, you can see this diagram, hopefully. This is like, they always say that blockchain-based games are decentralized. Well, this is a scheme of a very typical blockchain-based games, which is called Kolobok. It's not different from like any other game. The only difference is that they actually made this lovely scheme of its economy. It's a good scheme. This is how a game economy is designed. This is how a game economy should be designed. But does it look decentralized to you? To me, it looks like a very normal and very centralized virtual economy. At least they put some thought into it. Most blockchain game developers do not put any thought into anything. So, and these are the conclusions. Who needs this? Early adopters need this. Early adopters, if they're lucky, they come early. They may or may not profit from that. Everybody who comes later than the first adopters, everybody else loses. Then professional traders, you may use NFTs. You may even have fun with NFTs if you're a professional trader, especially a cryptocurrency trader. Although many cryptocurrency traders hate NFTs because they're non-fungible. Cryptocurrency traders prefer fungible tokens for the reasons of exchange value, actually, of course. So, and maybe you have this talent for flipping NFTs, then yes, of course, if this is how you want to live your life, I'm not a judge to you. I tried it, I don't feel joy. I don't enjoy it that much. Then owners of platforms, companies like Square Enix or any other big digital company that can build their own platform and benefit from trading on that. Owners of virtual land and especially owners of virtual casinos. Those guys win big. Again, this is a viable business. There are, of course, limitations, but this is also not my domain. You would need to talk to someone who researches gambling or works in gambling, which is also a business. Like it exists. We need to acknowledge that and like have our own, make our own decisions about that. Okay. One more category who actually likes NFTs more or less is fans. But fans are easily exploited by speculators. So if you are a fan of something, you can always buy some NFTs to enjoy your enjoy new experiences with the band or the game that you love. For instance, this is music NFTs from the band Muse that were also sold on the Cryptokitties platform. As you can see, for real money, they dropped this Ether thing for a while to sell tokens to actual fans. But as it appeared, most of these tokens were still bought by speculators who would hope to resell them to fans for even bigger money. So this is also the danger that you need to be aware of if you are building an NFT economy. And one more thing, I actually feel really sad that I've seen quite a lot of music NFTs and they all look like this. I can't even tell from these. Look, if it's Muse, if it's Kings of Leon, if it's, I don't know, this could be like Weekend. It could be any artist, and they all use the same lighting, the same retro aesthetics. And this is very sad because what was promised that we will have more diverse games and arts. And now we are getting like cliched copies of 80s aesthetics, but now on blockchain. So who needs this really? There are huge reputational risks. Many game companies tried to implement NFTs and they got huge backlash because gamers hate NFTs. Gamers hate microtransactions. Sorry, they should be microtransactions on this slide. But even more, they hate NFTs. So you need to be a really big company who can like leverage these risks by very, very important and very valuable property, intellectual property, such as Square Enix or Final Fantasy. Okay, and then there is huge investment risks for players as well as for those who kind of to start such businesses. So you need to spend spend money. You need to spend a lot of money to even start playing these games. There are no easy money. There is no guarantee that you will ever return what you have spent, but there are legions of scammers. The code is typically terrible and so on. And of course, if other players can build bots, casinos, pyramids, anything in a virtual world, they will do exactly that. They will try to scam other players out of their cryptocurrencies or valuable tokens. So this is still a huge investment risk. However, if you are a game designer or a game artist or just any kind of a creator today, you need to know all this because this is the world we live in now. So if you like, many people still made honest money by doing art for NFTs, doing art for doing game designs for the games that use NFTs. So what I ask you to do is don't buy everything that is marketed to you. Actually, don't buy anything unless you really, really want it or really, really need it, because you may be left with the bag. You may be left with something that has no resale value, but you still can be the bag. You can be the creator. You can be the designer. You can be the sought after creative worker, and if you are getting into space, please ask for a job contract. Never participate in any DAOs. Ask for money. Ask for real world money. Ask for real world money upfront. Ask for a salary. Ask for a normal contract, not any smart contract DAO fantasies, and don't hold the bag, be the bag. So this is my advice about NFTs, and now I'm ready for your questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think that it will be very dangerous for me to try to keep NFT. And there is time for questions of our students. Can you switch off your sharing?
Yes.
Now
Yes,
in this
I can.
moment?
Yes. Yes.
And there is time for question of Adam Jopek. He's student of 5th class of our studies, visual effects. So his question is.
Hey,
Hey.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so from your personal point of view, do you think that NFT will be more significant in games in the next decades, and there will be more space to create new games in the metaverse, or combine both into one? Thank you.
I hope for that. I honestly hope for that. What I see now is big businesses buying into that, and if they are buying into that, it may become too big to fail. I'm not sure that we will have better games. I'm not sure that we will have many better games, but some creative people may come up with something that is actually good and enjoyable, and maybe will teach us things such as financial literacy. So yes, I hope that this will happen. What we see now is that this is becoming our future. We have to deal with it.
Okay, question for Michala Svitkova. She's a student of the 1st class of game design. Some problem with sound. I don't hear you. No, still no. Try to repair your microphone if it's possible. So it is time for Barbara Kubishova. Try to put question.
Yeah, I would like to ask if you think that, like, you were speaking a lot about the fact that the NFT games are not like very enjoyable by themselves. Do you think it could stabilize the market if the developers or the investors actually like put effort into the game design, into making the game fun?
Again, I saw this. I saw this in 2018, and I really hope that this is what would become of that, because that's why I was starting my dissertation. And there were amazing people in 2018 who would design in very interesting MMORPGs with the tokens and everything. But then the market crashed, and most of them did not go anywhere. If like they may be back, but I don't know how good the market will be in the next few years. It is a very volatile market, so we don't know. As for now, it is possible, and it almost happened, but it didn't.
Yeah, the other factors are probably stronger than this game design factor. Yeah, thank you for the answer.
Okay, and next question is from Adam Gregush. He's student of the 3rd year of visual effects.
Hello, I have a question regarding the scarcity and like maybe the oversaturation of the market. When NFTs first became a thing in like, what was it, 2021, there was a huge surge of like these tutorials, like how to make NFTs, how to mass produce NFTs, and then there was like GitHub links to just make NFTs for you. And now you don't even need to code. It's like just a website that generates them. I wanted to ask like what your thoughts on this are, and maybe like if you think this is partly to blame for why so many of them have this like preset design, like the very uninspired look to
You
them.
see, we can look at this from the economic viewpoint of minimizing expenses. And there are actually two ways to go. Firstly, when we speak about art NFTs, they blew up so hugely because they are all unique. You kind of don't need any explanation. Every NFT, art NFT, is unique, at least by ideally by its concept. In games, you always have different categories of goods, different categories of assets. Of course, if it's a role-playing game, different characters will have different stats. If it's more like an economical game, you will have different resources, different. Again, if you have like some kind of game, like more like a simulation, you would have like different armies or different soldiers or anything, and those will be categories of tokens, categories of assets. They will not be unique because it's a game and it has rules. So you say these soldiers deal that much damage. This put them into a similar category, and this automatically makes them kind of less unique. So this is why it did not work with games, I think, because they still used scarcity as this selling point, and they could not provide this scarcity. They were not unique. They were still all belonging to the same class of game assets. While in art, it is different. Like there are no classes of assets. The only class that is meaningful is a collection, and the collection is kind of what is created by the single, say, author or the single project. So it's a different way to price assets. Assets are still unique within this collection, even though they're generated like randomly from the same elements, such as bored apes. However, when we see automatically generated art, this is kind of minimizes expenses on production. So now you have all these tokens that are all unique, and also you don't need to do anything. They just auto-generate themselves. All the rest is left to the market, which means the exchange value, which means that we are back to the cryptocurrency speculation model of value. And then people just speculate. So these are two different trends, and they kind of intersect. It's minimization of expenses on production of these assets, and then the second trend is this justification of their uniqueness. So scarcity has been replaced with uniqueness, and this is why NFTs blew up once again last year. I hope this is helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Alesja Serada, for very expressional your presentation. Thank you very much.